well, first things first, this is Fox's second Dragon Ball movie after Dragon Ball Evolution. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Anyway, the movie begins with a reanimated recap of the entire Dragon Ball story up to the end of the Buu arc. After that, Supreme and Grand Kai sends a dangerous force across the universe named Lord Beerus, and informs King Kai of the news. He explains to Goku the concept of a god of destruction, as Goku suits up to prepare for a battle with Beerus. Meanwhile, on Beerus' planet, his angel attendant Whis awakens him from his 39-year slumber, and gets him up to speed on the destruction of planet Vegeta and the death of Frieza by the hands of Goku, who Beerus takes interest in. Whis also tells him about Super Saiyans, causing Beerus to recall a premonition he had where he fought against a Super Saiyan god. He then makes it his mission to track down and fight the Super Saiyan god, as the two depart to King Kai's planet. Meanwhile, on Earth, everybody celebrates Bulma's birthday party, as Beerus arrives on King Kai's planet to ask him and Goku about the Super Saiyan God, which they know nothing of. Goku then requests a sparring match with Beerus as he gradually transforms into each of his Super Saiyan forms. Even at full power, Beerus is completely unfazed by anything that comes at him, as he easily takes out Goku and sets off to Earth. King Kai contacts Vegeta about Beerus, who arrives and asks him about the Super Saiyan God before Bulma invites him and Whis to stay for the party. Meanwhile, the Pilaf gang sneak into Capsule Corp to steal the Dragon Balls, and Jesus Christ, this is fella like we've never seen before. And spoiler alert, that's not a good thing. Anyway, long story short, Trunks takes a liking to Mai, she holds him at gunpoint, which Gohan thinks is an act, causing him to become the Great Saiyaman, shoots at him, which then causes one of the bullets to hit Beerus. In an attempt to keep him entertained, Vegeta performs the legendary Bingo Dance, which, no joke, is one of my favorite bits from any of these movies. Beerus then goes to Majin Buu for a cup of pudding, which he refuses, causing him to become angry and fight everyone present at the party. He takes out Vegeta and Gotenks, and as he's about to finish Vegeta off, Bulma slaps him and Vegeta becomes furious and actually lands hits on Beerus, but he is unfazed, and challenges Oolong to rock, paper, scissors to decide the fate of the planet, which, as you may assume, he loses. Beerus prepares to destroy the planet, before Goku finally arrives with the idea to summon Shenron to summon the Super Saiyan God, but is unable to do so, due to the fact that one does not yet exist, as he also tells a story of a group of Saiyans harnessing their energy into one to create the Super Saiyan God. The 5 current Saiyans then attempt the technique, but are short one person, leading to Videl announcing that she's pregnant with a quarter Saiyan child. And as they attempt the technique a second time with the unborn child, Goku transforms into the red-haired Super Saiyan God. He and Beerus begin their rematch, which for the first time in these movies is actually shown through a mix of traditional animation and CGI, which I'll get more into later. This fight goes on for a while until Goku's transformation times out, as the two continue fighting with their full power. This fight also includes one of my favorite line deliveries from this entire franchise.
I will not let you destroy my world!
They eventually take it to space where Beerus unleashes his strongest attack on Goku. As he struggles to avoid it, he transforms back into his god form to dissipate it entirely. He willingly gives up the fight, as Beerus commends his immense strength. We then learn for the first time about Dragon Ball's 12 universes, and how some warriors are stronger than both Goku and Beerus. The two return to Earth as Beerus prepares to destroy the planet, but changes his mind and lets everyone know that he'll be back, as he and Whis depart the planet. The movie ends with a makeup party being held for Bulma, as Goku gets bitch slapped by her. Well, it's certainly better than laughing, I can tell you that with confidence. So, since this movie is the first big piece of Dragon Ball canon after Z, we won't just be comparing Beerus to movie antagonists, but also to every antagonist to come before him as well. And holy shit, he is one of the best antagonists this franchise has ever had. Introducing a literal god into the franchise only seemed like the next natural step to take after Majin Buu. He's amazing, man. Everything from his introduction, fight scenes, comedic moments, all feel natural, almost as if he was written during Z's original time, both in manga and in the anime. On top of that, now that we're in the modern-ish era, Beerus also completely abandons any established tropes associated with past movies. No evil aliens, no piss Saiyans, no kaiju monsters. This is a goddamn god. Overall, Beerus is one of my favorite antagonists to ever come from this franchise, and is without a doubt the best out of any movie to come before or after it. As for the animation, again, since this is a movie made in 2013, picking up from a show that ended almost 18 years prior, there's bound to be improvements done from how the show used to look to make it fit better into the modern age. How they did it here is fucking amazing. Everything looks better than ever, especially with the mix of CGI to go along with this refined animation. While it may not look great in this movie, it would definitely go on to be vastly improved, to the point where they even made a whole ass movie with it. Despite that though, this movie still looks gorgeous, no matter what scene you look at. It's truly a damn shame Super threw this new standard out the window. I'm aware this has a much bigger budget than your average Super episode, but some of the stuff they got away with in there, they fucking shouldn't have. Regardless, the animation is as fantastic as this movie was long awaited. For the pacing, since this movie is the longest thus far, clocking in at about an hour and a half, depending on what cut of the movie you see, scenes obviously last longer and are able to tell more of the story that way. How it was in here, I think was just good. Not amazing, but just good. All characters have a completely reasonable amount of screen time and dialogue, while also still putting a balanced spotlight on the protagonist and antagonist. And with every one of these movies comes filler, and with what we have in here, I'm not a fan of it. Look, I'm sorry, but I just never liked the Pilaf gang very much. They were fine in the original Dragon Ball, but their modern counterparts are always the subject of pointless filler that really isn't funny to me. Well, then again, you're hearing this from someone who almost pisses himself laughing every time he rewatches the Jackass movies, so I guess my sense of humor is more suited for that. Anyways, despite poor filler, it still doesn't take away from my main thoughts on the movie. It serves as something to bridge that gap between Goku and Vegeta's stories, but that's really the only purpose it serves in my eyes. Finally, for the score, since there's no American version this time around, we only have the Japanese original, and holy shit, it's beautiful. Now composed by Norihito Sumitomo, the score is at its most cinematic yet, which only makes sense because of the new standards that have been set since Z's original end. It also perfectly suits whatever tone the movie sets in a moment. Like if there's something happy, happy music. If there's a more serious moment, you hear dark and foreboding music to let you know that shit's about to go down. And when it does go down, let out the lyrical music to truly show how epic the fight is to the audience. Though that's not to say it's superior to Kikuchi's original music. His music will always have this resonating charm to me, no matter what episode or movie it appears in. But still, the score in here sounds amazing, and there's really no other words I can put to describe it. And with all of that being said, Battle of Gods gets a 10 out of 10. There really are no other words that do this film justice that I can put, other than it's among the best of what this franchise has to offer. I'm getting happy just I'm getting happy just getting to the second half of this shit. Oh my god. The movie begins with Sorbet, leader of what's left of the Frieza Force, making his way to Earth to revive Frieza with the Dragon Balls, which they acquire with the aid of the Pilaf gang. They summon Shenron, who warns them that he will come back in pieces, since future Trunks sliced him into such, and grants their wish. They put the pieces in a regeneration chamber, while also having hard rock and metal play in the background, but don't worry, this is not what the score consists of, and also does not have the same charm that it did before, as Frieza is finally resurrected.
He said it! He said it!
Sorbet gets him up to speed on what Goku has accomplished since his defeat, which gives him the motivation to train harder than ever before to finally surpass the Saiyans. On Earth, a galactic patrolman named Jaco informs Bulma of Frieza's return, as she calls in most of the Z fighters to fend off against the Frieza Force. The two sides go at each other as, holy shit, Master Roshi's actually fighting this time around? Bulma contacts Whis to have Goku and Vegeta arrive on Earth as Frieza immediately goes to his final form and begins fighting Goku. The fight showcases their strength since their last encounter before the two agree to fight at their full power, where we see Goku transform into Super Saiyan Blue, and Frieza transform into his golden form, as the two resume their fight. Beerus and Whis eventually join in to watch the fight and eat ice cream before the battle eventually culminates in a Kamehameha wave that nearly defeats Frieza, before Sorbet shoots Goku with a laser. Frieza kicks around his badly wounded body, and mocks him in his defeat as he offers Vegeta to kill him so that he can be spared. He obviously declines as Frieza tries to blast Krillin but kills Sorbet instead. Krillin gives Goku a Senzu Beam, as we also see Vegeta transform into Super Saiyan Blue, who reverts Frieza back to his final form. As he's about to be finished off, Frieza immediately decides to destroy the Earth and Vegeta in an instant, as Whis protects the heroes in a bubble before performing a temporal do-over, which turns back time by 3 minutes to right before the planet's destruction. This time, Goku performs a God Kamehameha, which finally kills Frieza. For the third time. The movie ends with Goku and Vegeta agreeing to avoid fighting as one, and, well, I'm at least happy we didn't end off these movies with laughing. So for the first and final time in these movies, if you don't count the specials, we have a returning antagonist from the show, in the form of Frieza. How does he hold up in this movie? Well, I'm happy to say he's as enjoyable as ever, especially since the late Chris Aries, God rest his soul, reprises his role from DBZ Kai. No offense to Linda Young, but I've never been that big of a fan of the voice she gave him in the original. It was menacing, but not much more than that. Aries, I think, balances both the menacing and comedic aspects of the character, but still manages to keep him familiar to audiences who watch Z but may have skipped out on Kai. As an antagonist, when comparing him to Beerus, since this movie is a sequel to Battle of Gods, he unfortunately falls short of bringing anything we haven't seen before. Save for his golden form, which is actually pretty cool. Overall, Frieza is utilized well in this movie, but again, he has almost nothing new to bring to the table. As for the animation, it manages to bring back the spectacle of Battle of Gods, though dumbed down a bit, which is fine. This movie still looks great for the most part, though there were a couple of times where this movie looked just like a slightly above average episode of Dragon Ball Super. With the introduction of both Super Saiyan Blue and Golden Frieza, you'd be right to assume they'd go berserk with the animation like they did before with Super Saiyan God. But sadly, it doesn't seem like it reached the potential that Battle of Gods left behind. Again, the action looks great, it's probably the best looking parts of the movie, but everything outside of that just looks like your standard Super episode. As for the pacing, we've regressed to return of cooler levels of pacing, because good god, almost everything that isn't fighting is over in about a minute or less. Unlike Battle of Gods, or even movies like the legendary Super Saiyan, there's pretty much nothing that serves as filler or breathing room in between fights. All the breathing room this movie had was Goku and Vegeta training with Whis, and even then, it's still kind of a roadblock to the main story. I don't mind fighting, so long as it doesn't linger on too much at a time, and in this movie's case, it does. Granted, it's not the worst the pacing has ever been, but still far from good. And finally, for the score, again composed by Norihito Sumitomo, it's about as amazing as last time. It retains what made it special before, and is overall one of the better parts of this movie. Now, to finally end this marathon once and for all, Resurrection F gets a 5 out of 10. While the sound and most of the visuals remain largely unfazed, the negatives outweigh the positives here, making this feel more like an extended Super episode as opposed to the film preceding it.